Hey YouTube. Well, my name is Brock Bruce, and I am going to start recording my story about my journey to get my life back under control and lose weight. To kind of give you a little bit of a history on myself, I'm 6'2". I am the heaviest I've ever been was about 287, 288. I've just come to a point in my life where I've got to do something drastic to change the quality of my life and my health. I live in Houston, Texas, and I have 4 beautiful daughters. My oldest is 16. I have a 15-year-old, a 12-year-old, and a 9-year-old. And I've been married to my wife for be 20 years this year in May. It just seems like that my life since college, even really since high school, that I've been on this trend of putting weight on, and it didn't matter what I did, whether I ate good, whether I ate bad, whether I was active, whether I wasn't active, whatever the case may be. It just seems like that I just continued to get bigger and bigger and bigger and heavier and heavier. My current situation right now is that I am on cholesterol medicine. I'm also taking blood pressure medication, I'm on a vitamin regimen, and also taking a low-dose aspirin as well. Really have had no major health problems up to this point, other than my high cholesterol and my high blood pressure, and then of course my weight. And really my weight is a direct result, or I guess I should say my high blood pressure and my high cholesterol is a direct result of my weight. As I've mentioned before, I eat okay. I eat my share of fried food, which, by the way, I have completely stopped. And it has been like that for a couple months now. But I'll tell you, what my awakening was, and that was, which, by the way, I'm 44 right now, so kind of give you an idea of how old I am. Back in September of this year, I just could not sleep well. I have been diagnosed with sleep apnea, but it's a mild case. I think I kind of compensate for my sleep apnea, as my wife says I don't snore a whole lot, but I think I used to snore a lot, and I think it has to do with because of the way that I can't use a CPAP. It just, every time I try to use a CPAP and I go to sleep with it, I end up ripping it off in the middle of the night, and I just never end up with it in the morning. So, I've kind of compensated for my sleep apnea or my snoring by sleeping on my side instead of on my back or on my stomach. So anyway, I've kind of got a workaround on that. But anyway, about 3 months ago, I just was not feeling good. I wasn't sleeping well. I was very fatigued, and I finally just said, you know what? I also had a case of the flu, or a real bad cold, and I wanted to go see my doctor. And when I went to go see I tried to get and see my doctor on Monday, she was actually out of the office, and I went to a Ready clinic at one of the grocery stores here in the Houston area. And when they checked me out, they said that basically I had a real bad sinus infection, and in the process of that, they also determined I had extremely high blood pressure, and so that really scared the hell out of me, actually. So what I did was I actually got some medicine to get over my sinus infection, or at least help it. And when I got done at the doctor's appointment, I called my general practice doctor and or their office and told them that I needed to get in and see my GP, which is Dr. Tammy Shia in Sugar Land, Texas. And they said the first time that they could get me in after a couple days after I had been on the antibiotics for my sinus infection, I got to feel a little bit better. It'd be a good time for me to come in and see her then. And so about 3 days later, I went and saw her, and immediately after taking my blood pressure, she said, "You've got to get it. We've got to put you on blood pressure medication. We've got to get your blood pressure down. And once we get that down, then we need to get some full lab work and talk about what we can do to try to see what's going on." And so anyway, long story short, she put me on blood pressure medication, and I was able to get my blood pressure down almost immediately. Within a day or so, I started feeling better. It really wasn't as big of a deal to me because my blood pressure was down and I was okay. But in the back of my mind, it really bothered me that I was on blood pressure medication. So anyway, after getting the lab work done and everything, we scheduled a follow-up appointment with her to go see her in 2 weeks. And I wanted my wife to come with me. And so when we went and saw her, went back to see Dr. Shia, she basically told me that I had to lose some weight. If I didn't lose weight, that my problems were going to continue, and that the next thing on the horizon was potentially type 2 diabetes. And that really bothered me. So I knew that I had to make some changes, but I didn't know what that was going to be. And so I started getting out and walking with my wife every night. Whenever I would go to softball practice with my kids, which my daughters play softball, I would try to get out and walk. The doctor didn't want me doing a whole lot of heavy running or anything because I just wasn't in the health to do that because of my weight. So, I said, hey, I'm going to make a change. I'm going to turn this around. And so anyway, that was back in September of 2013 when that all started. And I guess it was probably the end of October of this year where I just woke up one morning and I said, you know what, this is crazy. I've got to do something to make some drastic changes in my life to make sure that I can live a long, healthy life and be able to watch my kids grow up, watch their kids, at least get to know them some, and be able to live out the rest of my life with my wife as well in a healthy manner. And so basically, what I did is immediately I started looking at ways to lose weight. What could I do to drastically change my lifestyle and to change my life? I knew that the biggest reason why I was having weight problems was because of the amount of food that I ate. It wasn't necessarily the types of food that I ate. I do have a sweet tooth. I do like fried food, but I try to watch what I eat and try to not eat bad stuff all the time. So I know people that have a lot worse dietary habits than I do, but at the same time, I also knew that what my real problem was is that I had such an appetite. It's always been the case with me, and even my wife knows that it just really has to do with the amount of food that I eat is my biggest problem. So I knew that there was a couple options out there. I knew about the lap band, and that was big on my mind, and actually even searched out the lap band people here in Houston and went to talk with them about doing the lap band and everything. And after meeting with them, they really kind of talked me out of they really strongly talked me into considering the lap band procedure. And so I told myself, before I commit to anything, I need to go back and talk to my GP. And so I scheduled an appointment with Dr. Shaya, and this was like the first week of November of 2013. And I left a message with her office that it's absolutely imperative that I meet with her because I've had some things come up and I'm seriously considering having surgery done, weight loss surgery. And so she was able to squeeze me in and get me in by the end of the week. And I went in and told her that it was time for me to make a change. I had to do something. And the funniest thing is I've got a really good relationship with my doctor. She's very close to my age. We're both Texas Longhorns, and spent a lot of time in Austin, and so we kind of have a very similar background in regards to our Longhorn background. So anyway, she was very happy to hear that I had come to, I guess, lack of a better way of putting it, an epiphany, and that she could see it in my eyes. She said that I was ready to make a change. And I told her that what I was considering doing, and that I had looked at the lap band, and she was, she understood that. And but she said that I really needed to consider something more drastic as opposed to a lap band. She said with the lap band that it's too easy to cheat on, that there's a higher level of failure rate with the lap band, and that basically in my situation that I really needed to seriously consider a gastric sleeve. And I really didn't know anything about that. And the last thing I wanted to do was do a gastro bypass, and she said that was way too radical for what I needed done, and that where the procedures are very safe now, that I really didn't need to go that route, and going through the malabsorption and everything you would go with a bypass. She said that with a sleeve, it was probably the best way for me to permanently lose weight and change my habits, because it would force me to change my habits, specifically with the amount of food and intake that you're able to accommodate when eating or consuming food after the gastric sleeve is done. And we had a good long conversation about it, and she gave me the name of 3 surgeons to speak with, and I did make appointments with all 3 surgeons, and all 3 surgeons basically told me the exact same thing, and all 3 of them do all the different procedures, including lap band, gastric sleeve, and the gastro bypass, and duodenal switch, and all those other procedures. And every one of them that I spoke with basically all said that what she said was that the lap band would not be a good choice for me, just because it's just too easy to cheat on, and that the gastro sleeve is probably the easiest one for my situation. I don't know the easiest one, probably the best one for me to consider for me in my situation. So after interviewing the different surgeons and talking to different surgeons, getting the same stories, basically I have settled on my surgeon, which is Dr. Clifton Thomas here in Houston, Texas. And basically, a couple different reasons. One, I just had a connection with him. 2, it doesn't hurt that he's a Longhorn. And 3, he's very well respected in his specific discipline, and he has tons of experience in this this type of procedure. He also strongly suggested that I needed to make a change as well. And by this time when I met with him, I was actually down about 10 pounds from what my heaviest weight was. So, I was 278, 279, something like that when I met with him. And just from changing my lifestyle and making some changes, because of the situation. But one of the things that he also was very good with is that he's willing to work with me on my financial situation. Because I have a health insurance policy through Blue Cross Blue Shield, they actually have an exclusion for bariatric surgery or bariatric procedures. And so I'm not able to get this paid for by insurance, but because of the importance of it, we actually feel that my wife and I both feel that it's something that we need to make happen, regardless if we can get insurance to pay for it or not. So Dr. Cliff Thomas has agreed to work with me on the price, and we've got a boutique hospital here in the Houston area that's more of a surgery center that is going to be able to work with me on price as far as cash price is concerned. And we originally were looking at doing this at all the major hospitals, whether it be well, we'll just leave it at that, the major hospital systems here in Houston, and all of them are quite a bit more expensive to have the procedures done there as opposed to doing it at this other boutique hospital that I'm going to be using. When the time comes after the procedures are done, I'll share those names with you so that you know who they are. But until the procedures are done and that's behind us, I really don't want to share any of that information at this point, so I hope you can understand that. But to kind of give you an idea of where we are, basically I've had prices quoted to me all the way from $16,900, so roughly call it $17,000, to as low as $6,500, which $6,500 would mean me going to Mexico and having the procedure done down there. And we could do that. Even Dr. Thomas would even go down to Mexico if we were willing to pay for his trip, and he would do the procedure down there. He's done that in the past. But we've just decided that's not the route we want to go, and we want to make sure that we're here in the States at a good reputable facility, good reputable hospital, and be able to be close to home to get the procedures done for obvious reasons, just my comfort level. Even though there's a lot of people out there that do go the Mexico route, and it's very safe. But anyway, I'm actually going to have my surgery next week on Monday, December 16th. They say that I'm going to get to go home on Tuesday, December 17th. I should be in for one day. They're going to do this procedure laparoscopically through the small incisions in the stomach, and basically it should be a pretty quick, easy procedure. But anyway, right now, we're just kind of in a waiting game at this particular point. Like I said, my highest weight was at 288. I'm now down to, when I went in to meet with the doctor first, I was at about 279. I'm actually down now to about 271 as of this morning. So I'm actually down about 18 pounds, 17 pounds, sorry, from my highest weight. So we're heading in the right direction, and my Dr. Thomas says that I really don't need to lose or strive to lose a whole lot of weight before the procedure to do the procedure, but of course losing the weight is good, so just continue what I'm doing. But the whole idea is to keep it off, to make sure that I change my habits, and the Gastric Sleeve I think is probably going to be my best option to do that. So anyway, I hope that my story about my journey and how it's getting started here as we progress, and I update you over the course of the next year, you can see the things that I've gone through, and it helps you in your decision making process. And if there's ever any questions or anything that I can answer for you, I'll be happy to try to answer those for you and help you in any way that I can through my videos if you have any questions. So anyway, just real quick, I'm going to stand up so you can see how big I am. And hopefully a year from now it'll be totally different. But anyway, this is how big I am. You can see how big I am on the side. And this is my weight at 270 pounds. So anyway, we're going to make a change, and we'll see how it goes. But I'm super excited, and you know, just know that the man upstairs is the one watching over me, and he's given me the green light to make sure that we get this taken care of and change my lifestyle for the better. So anyway, thank you very much, and yeah, I hope everyone has a Merry Christmas. Bye, YouTube.